Welcome back to Life's a Garden. I would like to once again send out an open invitation to any and all artists, musicians, actors, athletes, comedians. If you are interested in coming on the show to promote your project and to promote yourself, please reach out. I'm always open and willing to have anybody on the show. I'm always interested in talking to new people and to help promoting people and their projects. So just reach out, come on the show, and of course we'll talk about whatever your project is, and we'll talk about a whole lot more. And today we have a musician on the show. He is the lead singer and bass player for the band 1 Second to Go. I've had the opportunity to play several shows with these guys. They are incredible, great musicians, great band. Make sure to go check them out on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify. I'll make sure to leave a link in the description so you can easily access that. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Tony Horton. Well, normally I don't like to start off an episode by kissing ass, but I just gotta say, that last show you guys played, opening up for Soulfly, that was badass.
Thank you, man. That was a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah, I had no idea you guys were even gonna be opening, and I knew you were going because I think you were already planning on going, maybe, or
yeah. Me and a couple of friends were planning on going ahead of time, so it was just pretty cool that I was like, hey, plans changed. I can't go with you. I'm gonna be there already.
Yeah, no, that's super cool, and. It's not to say I wasn't paying attention when we played together. It's just I had a bunch of people there. I'm watching merch. I'm like in and out of like paying attention, so I didn't get to like fully focus in on your guys' show.
Well, we had just found out earlier that afternoon. Like we were still processing it and waiting for everyone to show up at the show to actually confirm and yeah, handshake. Okay, we're gonna do it.
Gotcha.
So and we were still pretty focused on getting that night over with and. Plus, I had that other gig with another band that I had to run down the street, so I was already pretty plate full. Wasn't trying to, by the way, next week.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it just worked out perfectly because then it's like, it's just during the times when you're playing, it's so hard to like stay focused in on everything else because there's just so much stuff going on. So I was so glad to get to see you guys and actually be full in and right up front and getting to listen to you guys. And I swear to God, I looked at Aaron, our bass player, and I was like, we got to step our fucking game up because you guys killed it.
Well, man, that's my favorite thing about seeing local shows. I mean, I remember seeing tons of bands from Mike Walters' projects back in the day and just being like, God, that's what I got to do when I grow up, you know?
Yeah.
And it's cool. I only hope that I could do something like that for somebody else. And
well, I think that's kind of a nice part about the way the music scene is turning is everyone kind of has each other's back now is what I feel like, at least.
Yeah, it's definitely getting better. I mean, it used to be pretty headhunter back in the day, but
yeah, just competitive. And
yeah, and I don't know what it was, the emo phase of everybody or what, but
yeah, just everybody kind of wanting to get the better edge of everything. And
yeah, but it's definitely been a lot more friendly competition, you know, and it's cool being able to play with different groups and different places, always have different crowds, and being able to intermingle with everybody. It's cool.
Well, you should want everybody to succeed because a strong scene is good for everyone.
Exactly, because people know and they can assume that, oh, next week I'm going to see some kick-ass band. And guess what? They would have never planned on seeing you. They just come because that's what they do.
Well, and if you're excited to see, if you know the scene is hot, then you know you might pop in and see something you weren't expecting to see, and you would expect it to be good if the scene is rocking hot, you know, and everybody's promoting everybody, everybody's supporting everybody. So I love to see that because in high school, because I've been in and out of bands since high school, and it's like, back in high school, everything was just so competitive. Everyone was so two-faced. It's like they'd say nice things to your face, and then they talk shit about you behind their back, and it's like, I don't really feel like that's the way it is anymore, though, at least.
No, it's definitely gotten a lot better with that. I mean, I remember I've been playing since the 90s in this town, and back then, I mean, I don't know if it was just kind of an accident or what, but we definitely kind of, with Crunk, you know, got pretty high up on the everybody wanted to ask to get on our shows kind of phase, and we just stayed busy. It was like every 3 weeks we were doing a show just because we had we had to fulfill all of our friends that wanted to come in from wherever and do shows, and eventually people started like getting sore, like, man, you guys have done like 5 shows, and it was like, well, these were all planned, and so there was a little bit of anger and frustration, I guess, maybe from
jealousy.
Yeah, a little bit, I mean, it was hard to help. I mean, we were doing 6-band shows sometimes, just trying to squeeze in as many as we could. Like, let's do it. We'll do shows Friday and Saturday if we have to. But
well, I remember, like, obviously I wasn't in the music scene until about high school, and for reference, that was about 2010-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember before that, though, Endeavor and like several other, it's hazy for me because I was younger and I wasn't really into like the music stuff then. But I remember it being a strong music scene then, and so
yeah, it's cool. I mean, guys like Endeavor. I mean, that's basically the rest of the guys in my band now. Yeah. And so
and I was actually going to ask you, kind of how 1 second ago got started. Like,
basically, the singer Mike Walters wanted to kind of start doing some other projects, and just 20 years, they ran it pretty hard and pretty strong, and they just kind of felt they wanted to change, and they weren't ready to give up, so to speak. And I've been their friend for decades, I mean, we've been doing shows since the 90s together, and just been the guy that's always been around. And I started playing drums for Irate out of Hollywood.
Oh, shit.
And Dave got hooked up with those guys, my guitar player for 1 second ago, got hooked up with those guys, just being on the tour circuit, being friends with them. And they asked, hey, do you want to play guitar for a couple gigs? And he went and opened up for Head PE with them. And I was like, dude, couldn't you ask like 6 months earlier? Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah, but I guess they had a problem running around with their drummer, and I also play drums. And it's like, dude, you want to play drums with Irate and go down to Hollywood and play at the Whiskey A Go-Go? And I was like, yeah, sure. And
yeah, who's gonna say no?
Yeah, I know, but we had a 20-hour drive on the way there, and so he's like, I got something I want to talk to you about on the way there. And so he talked about it and brought it up, and I was like, play bass too? I was like, well, I've never done that before. And
oh shit, so okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I play stuff. I mean, I could figure it out, I guess, but it was definitely a tumultuous 6 months. Yeah, I was like, oh my god, I really got to work at this, because I'd been drumming for bands for probably about the last 10 years.
Wow, okay.
And I'm in like 4 or 5 other ones, but that was I mean, I'd play guitar and sing and all that kind of stuff, but bass and sing, and
that's the hardest combination I've been told.
It took a minute. But it's funny now. The more I break down stuff, like, because we did a Tool tribute act.
Yeah, I was there. I saw that.
Yeah, and breaking it down, you never really would have thought how much foundationally the bass player is of that band.
Oh yeah,
and then in turn the singer, Maynard's following the bass lines, and I was like, oh, I can actually do this because it's like following the bass lines. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's kind of funny. I can't remember who it was that said it. Somebody said something to the effect that our band is a really great drummer and bass player with fancy, shiny toys on the outside, something to that effect. But
right,
talking about like the guitar player and the singer,
Well, and some of the best singer, I mean, there's so many good singer bass player combos out there, so it's like it's not unheard of. I've just heard it's a very difficult thing to do. Yeah,
I mean, some of my favorite, from Sting, like way back in the day, and Police, and that's like hero stuff. I've been like, man, that'd be tough to do.
Yeah,
but,
well, Geddy Lee and
yeah, I mean, I hadn't even known until like I was probably a teenager that was the same dude playing bass and singing. Like, what the heck?
Right. Well, and they're just such integral bass lines anyway, and then that crazy vocal range.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love that meme, Rush making your band look like crap since 1966 or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, no doubt.
That's awesome. So then, what year was that you guys kind of started?
That was probably about 4 years ago when we were talking about that.
Okay.
About 3.5 years ago. And then it took about 6 months of noodling around, and I had some riffs, they had some riffs, and put about the first record's worth of stuff together.
Okay.
And another song or two that never made it on, but we still kind of noodled around with those two. But so we had about 7 songs, and the band we're actually playing with this weekend coming up, or not this weekend, but the middle of the month here, Dashboard Carl from Bozeman. They got us our first show in Bozeman.
Oh, shit, okay.
Yeah, and so we went up there, booked us the show. Weekend coming up to it, we still hadn't even had a name yet.
Oh.
I mean, it was hilarious.
Isn't
man.
the name just the hardest part?
Oh, man. And it was actually Edgar, the bassist from Irate that I was telling you about, because talking Skype over the phone all the time. And they're watching a UFC match.
Okay.
Over a telephone phone call, basically. And 1 second to go, dude was getting his ass kicked, but turned around and won the match. And Edgar's a MMA kind of fighter guy, too, also. He actually trains in that stuff, but...
Okay.
So he's really into it, and he was like watching it. He was like, "Oh my god, dude pulled it off. 1 second to go. I can't believe he did it. 1 second to go." And we were just like,
it just clicked.
that's the name. I mean, because we were digging, man. We had days after practice where there'd be like 5 or 6 of us hanging out. A couple of band girlfriends and their friends, and plus all 4 of us, and we had all downloaded the Band Name Generator app on our phones.
I tried that shit too.
Oh man, and it was so funny. I mean, we were just like, try words, just come up with a word. And so I'm like looking in there, and I put up kingdom for a word, something kingdom. Well, why not? Mm-hmm. First thing on the list. I mean, we'd gone through and we were laughing about what we saw, and we'd share and laugh and all that. And about half an hour into it, I put that in kingdom, and I look at it, and it says squirt for the kingdom. and I just start laughing. I was like, nope, I'm not sharing that one. And they're like, no, come on now, you got to share now. And so, and it was just a big joke that was a pretty solid favorite on the band name list, squirt for the kingdom, because it was just like, what do you say about that? I mean, you put that on a flyer, it's almost like Bare Naked Ladies or something.
Yeah.
It's just
Well, it's funny because like sometimes like the weird names are the ones that click.
Yeah,
and they're the ones that catch on.
Yeah,
like
so between that and the other name that we had picked out was an episode of Bob's Burgers.
Okay.
And I can't remember what episode it was, but we were after practice one day, and there's a chicken laying an egg, and the mom, she starts singing some song about let the egg roll or let it go out the egg hole or something like that. And we just started hollering, laughing. We thought egg hole was so dang funny. And we're like egg hole. And like,
that's not a bad one.
Yeah, but why name yourself? The first press conference would have been great.
Yeah.
Well, why'd you name the band Egg Hole? Well, it's better than Chicken Pussy.
That's true. That's awesome.
But the joke would have been way old and sour after that. I mean, just the first press conference would have been the funniest time. But
right.
And so it just wasn't ever gonna work. But
yeah, it's hard, man. It's hard to find one that catches, one that people recognize, and one that's not taken.
Yeah, I mean, it's like as soon as Edgar said 1 second to go, I mean, we were like, Google bands, search Spotify, look up YouTube,
yeah,
yes, cool, like,
yeah,
.com that quick.
We almost ran into that issue too because I didn't even remember how it all started with coming up with the name. We just never really had anything solid. I think we were running with a couple ideas, and it just wasn't sticking. And then I remember because I work with Drew, our guitar player, and he's a big fisherman, and likes to do all that. We were talking about fishing and stuff, and I just like stopped and thought to myself, I was like, "What's the state fish of Montana?" It's the cutthroat trout, and I'm like, "Fucking A, let's try cutthroat." So I'd looked it up, and there's a band that it was like a punk thing in the 80s, I guess, called Gina Harlow and the Cutthroats.
Ah.
And I think there was also a group called The Cutthroats. And I think there's actually a band in LA, but they're called Los Angeles Cutthroat. So I'm like, it sucks because there's other bands with that name in it.
Yeah.
But nobody's just Cutthroat.
Yeah.
And I've already registered it. So
sweet.
So we own it.
Everyone probably assumed that they had to add something to it to diversify it from the others. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, once you own the trademark on it, man, it's like, yeah, sure.
It's a done deal.
For it.
Yeah, exactly. And so once that stuck, I was just like, dude, I can't even believe that that's not taken.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's variations, but just nothing that's just that solid.
Yeah, totally.
I've always liked. I guess I was gonna say I like one-word band names, but that's not true because I've had bands that weren't that.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of bands that I like that are one-word band names, like Korn or Disturbed, but that's just me. But then I like System of a Down too, and that's a mouthful, but it still rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah. I had a band out in Seattle called Non-Zero Sum, and I thought that was just a really cool math.
Oh yeah.
The whole theory behind it was pretty neat. So I was like, oh, that's a killer band name. And
Right.
I wasn't even. I was another one of those bands that I just joined. That they were already a happening band, and we were in these storage units, and I just hopped on and was like the best band in Seattle, basically needing a lead singer. I was like, yay!
Hell yeah.
You know. So that worked out pretty good. But yeah, I was just like, how'd you guys know I'm a math guy? I love this. This is a killer band name.
That is a cool name, actually.
Yeah, but yeah, so that was fun for a long time out in Seattle, but then yeah, I moved back here, and that was about 2005, about.
Okay.
And yeah, scene was still going strong here. I mean, my friend's band that we're playing with also, 321 Ugly.
Mm-hmm.
I started playing drums for his band Wet when I got back.
Okay.
And immediately we were doing the Warped Tour like within a couple months.
Damn.
I mean, it was just like, yeah. So I was happy. I was like, the scene's going good here as it ever was out in Seattle. And
Hell yeah. Well, that's a good sign.
yeah, I mean, I went out there when it was supposedly in the tanks, but it was still decent. I mean, it was kind of cool out there. The one thing I wish we had here was there's a storage unit out there, like kind of in Everett area, and every single storage unit had a band in it.
Oh shit.
Every single one of them, except there was one that was a dude that just lived there. We called him Groundskeeper Willie.
Yeah. Okay.
And he knew all the bands. I mean, like if you're like, oh man, we really like to have a show next week, and he's like, oh come on, and walk 2 hallways down, and knock on some door, and they'd open it up and be like, oh good, you guys still looking for a band next weekend? And we're like, yeah. And like,
he was the promoter.
yeah, he was like the cross-reference guy. He knew like everything that was going on, and he was cool until he had a space heater that caught fire and burned a unit down or something, so he got kicked out. But
Damn.
no more living on grounds anymore for Groundskeeper Willie. But he was still pretty cool while it lasted.
I've heard of stories like that of bands in storage units like that, and that just sounds like such a cool idea. It makes sense.
And that's how I met Non-Zero Sum, because they were on one end of a hallway of storage units, and we were jamming on the other end. My guitar player was a cable guy. Their guitar player was a cable guy, and they were friends. And they were like, "Hey, dude, you gotta go." And our band was not real good. Kind of a funny story that I don't know what it is with drummers and me. I mean, maybe it is because I am a drummer, but they're either way better than me, or I'm like, God, can you just let me play drums? I mean, it's and I hate that feeling, because I mean, to each their own. I mean, if you have the balls to get on stage and play music, then you have more balls than most people, So I mean, I can't really go like, well, I'm way better than you, but
it's hard when you know a craft, though.
It is hard, and this guy that I was jamming with was particularly hard, and he had all these crazy stories about like hanging out with Five Finger Death Punch and living behind this strip bar in Anchorage, and met Metallica and all this shit. And when he moved back to California, he was like neighbors with Flea, and he'd like go eat lunch in the park with them and shit. And I was just like, dude, if you knew half of these people, why didn't anything rub off on you, man? Like, but that sure as shit one day, like a band practice canceled, and we're like, oh, let's go get drunk over at my house. And it's just over here. I'm like, all right, sure, why not? So we head over there. We get a case of Sparks. Those are awful, by the way.
Yeah. I don't even think they make them anymore.
I don't know. But back then, we were trying to get sponsored by it. We were like, this is the best shit ever. But yeah, this was the day that killed it for me. We had about 6 each, but awful. But sitting there talking, he busts out these photo albums, and no bullshit, man. I mean, he's got pictures of him in a room with Metallica members.
Oh shit! So he wasn't just blowing smoke.
And like on a park bench with Flea and Anthony Kiedis, and they're all like making the face.
Yeah.
And this is like, a higher ground Chili Peppers. I mean, you've seen the videos, you know which year it is just by the hairstyles and shit. This is '80s Chili Peppers. Like, I mean, the dude was older than me though. You know,
Okay, yeah. But
good.
still, like you said, so for one, you're not lying about these stories. So yeah, why did none of that rub off on
I
you?
mean, yeah. I mean, what the heck?
I guess he just enjoyed partying with guys like that.
I guess. I don't know. But I mean, my parents and all their friends were musicians, and I think that's what happened to me. But, but I just was like, how do you do that? How do you get in a room with all of these people for all these years? But anyway, it was just, so I'm in this band that they're good drinking buddies, basically, is what it is. And one of them's my roommate, and yeah, we're in a band, and yeah, we're going to do a show someday, and we're called Susurrus. You know what a susurrus is?
No.
It's a whispering in the bushes.
Okay.
A dark sound that you might hear when you're camping. It's like,
that's kind of cool, though.
Susurrus.
It
was all right.
I never heard of that.
Yeah, it was all, yeah, you have to look it up and shit, but yeah, so we thought we were cool with that, but God bless you, Jacob. But anyway, he had his buddy down the hallway, and we were like, hey, go check out this band, man. My buddy's a cable guy, and I go in and listen to him, and I swear to God, they were like 311 meets Incubus. They just had that real kind of hard. Brothers were a drummer and bass player.
Okay.
And I love brother bands that, that's kind of like, how they grew up together doing this shit their whole lives. Like, you can tell, it rubbed off on them, That's that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Just because you're around it all the time.
Yeah, and they did it all their whole lives, bass and drums. And I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that. It's like, wow, so cool.
Yeah, that's the best combo you could have, really.
Yeah, brothers. And so I'm sitting there. I think Highly Suspect does that. Is the brothers are.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think so, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, yeah, I 2 songs into their deal, I'm like sitting there like, oh, I'm in the wrong band. I'm just like,
could you like theirs better?
Yeah, they were just so good.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, obviously starting to miss band practices and turning into drinking afternoons, it just teetered off. And finally the guitar player was like, I'm done. I'm going to go join this other band. And it had other members of Drowned Mary. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They were a Jägermeister band for a while.
Oh, okay.
And like literally on tour with like all those Jaeger bands. I mean, it's just like, hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Really nice guys though. But yeah, so he started jamming with those guys. And I was like, oh, well, band's over. I guess what am I going to do? Literally not even 5 minutes later, Ryan Summers, the guitar player for Non-Zero Sum, calls me up and he's like, hey, Jake just called me and told me your band broke up. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, man, sorry, man. What a bummer. And I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of bummed. You want to come over today and sing for us? And I was like, holy smokes. Yes, I do, dude. But
what a coincidence.
Yeah.
Like, what a turn of
but yeah, that was a rad band. They were doing really good. And it's hard to live in Seattle. It's expensive. And I had a kid back home here in Montana, and it's funny, they always say, when you talk about Montana, it's like one word. It's back home Montana. It's one word. Like,
Yeah.
Back home Montana. But yeah, so I had to come back.
And you're originally from here
Yeah.
then? Okay.
Yeah, my whole family's here, and I've got a lot of kids, and at the time was only one, but now I'm definitely staying around for a while.
Well, I mean, at least you got to go out and do that, you know?
Yeah, and I learned a lot from it. It wasn't like something that was like, oh, my career took off to the next level because of that. I mean, it was...
And it's rare it's such a rarity for any band to really hit that.
Yeah.
You're always lucky and fortunate if you do, but especially when because here we're kind of like big fish in a small pond, whereas you take talents to like a big city, it's like now you're just a small fish in a big pond.
Nothing in an ocean.
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing that I like about Billings, and I've always said it about Billings, I mean, and it started in the 70s. That's why my parents moved here. My mom's from Minnesota. My dad's Air Force and graduated high school in Japan, and
oh shit,
moved to the Air Force Base in Great Falls, Malmstrom up there.
Mm-hmm. And
then because of the music scene that was down here in Billings at the time, they both eventually came here to start becoming band people, and then met each other, and and then I came along, and my other sisters too. But so the music scene was promising back then, and people were looking at it knowing there was a great supper club up on the heights. It was rad. It was, I can't remember what it was. I think it was called the Skyline, but there's all those really nice houses up in the Skyline.
Yeah.
That's where the property was, and they've turned it into really nice exclusive houses now. But so I mean, there was happening things going on here back in the 60s and 70s, and it was because of the oil here and all the roads leading from Denver to Seattle to, there's nothing in that huge horseshoe.
Yeah.
So it just makes sense with all the highways leading here. We're practically border with Canada if things were done right. This town will take off. And just with the nature of the way shows have been going with COVID over the last 2 years, every band in the world wants to come and play here now.
Well, and I was thinking about that too, is the fact that we kind of had a leg up in a way in the fact that
we were working, they weren't.
Exactly. And
I'm hearing about people that are getting to do their first show in 2 years just now this weekend, and I'm like,
crazy.
Dude, I mean, I had like 4 or 5 in one weekend. Like,
right.
I was like a busy guy, but
yeah, our first show was August of 2020.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be March of 2020, but it was like our first show was right before everything shut down.
Yeah.
And so
our CD release party was the week they started the mask mandates for the first record, and I was just like,
what a bummer.
Oh yeah, we were called Nazis and all sorts of things for having a show, and I can't believe you do this and try to kill people. And
well, we only canceled because we weren't certain that anybody would show up. Because it was like right in the beginning when everybody was like nervous and didn't really know. And
it was literally 3 days after it like hit or something. It was just like, are you kidding me? Like,
go figure, man.
People didn't have enough time to realize, well, should I go or shouldn't I go? It was just after the fact. They were like, wait a minute. And yeah, it was kind of crazy.
Oh, dude, I remember even at the Metal Fest, there was people that were like getting butthurt about that. And it was outside. There was even people wearing masks outside, and I'm like, which, whatever. And that was, last year?
Yeah.
So that wasn't even, that was a whole year after the whole...
So yeah, it was silly, and I'm glad it's winding to a twilight, it seems. But
It would appear, but you never know. I would hope so. But in the same sense, we still had the leg up, and we still were more open than pretty much anywhere else.
Yeah, and that was rad. I mean, bands started coming here. I mean, I've seen Avatar and got to play for Soulfly, and I mean, stuff. I mean, I was joking with a friend the other day. I was like, "Hey, can we just have Korn come here?" Like,
oh, dude.
I mean, that'd have been weird to ask in 1999, but just because of the way things have been going, I think this could happen.
Well, and that new album, dude. That new album is so fucking good.
Right?
I listened to it like on repeat yesterday.
I'd love to see them. I'd love to see them.
I got to see them once.
I haven't.
In Missoula.
It's people look at me like, you've never seen them. I'm like, dude, I've been like...
I mean, I've only seen them once.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've seen a lot of bands. I mean, up until COVID, I was like... And it's literally just because nobody was coming here. And we weren't going anywhere. But I would travel and see all kinds of shows. And I've got a whole freaking booklet full of tickets.
That's rad.
And it's like... and even then, though, I only saw Korn one time. And I'll tell you this right now. I never thought it would be the case. Because I'm not like a huge Korn fan. I love Korn. But they're not like necessarily on my must... That's not true. Because they were a must-see band. But it wasn't like I just had this raging boner for Korn. You know what I mean?
It's been a while for me. But when I was 17 or whatever, I mean, yeah, it was pretty sad.
Really?
I was a Korn nut.
Hey, I mean, everybody's got their bands, you know? And, like, Korn was always just kind of one that was in the background for me that I always liked, but they weren't, like, my diehard. I'll never forget the moment Jonathan Davis stepped out on the stage, and I had this, like, kind of, like, overcoming feeling of, like...
Fangirled all of a
It
sudden.
was, and I didn't expect it, because it was, like, I was like, holy shit, like, I'm watching Korn right now. And it was so bizarre because I've never had that with any other band ever, even bands that I am like a true fangirl of.
Yeah. Oh.
And like, there was just something about it. And I'll never forget that feeling of like just that first song.
So I was touring with this other band called Dennis Tech, who's, we might have to do a whole other show about that guy.
Okay.
He's crazy. He was the actual pilot Iceman in the Top Gun movies. I met Maverick. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for his band Radio Birdman from Australia. Moved to Montana to become a surgeon, and that worked at the same hospital with my mom. So I wound up getting hooked up as a 17-year-old kid playing drums for this legend. But anyway, we're on tour down in California, on tour with this band called the Exploding Fuck Dolls. And two twins, these guys that are professional surfers and skateboarders, got their own company, you know, and they're both tattooed and good looking and, you know, pretty locally famous, I guess, so to speak, you know. So they got a couple of babe model girlfriends, and they take us surfing down on the beach, at Huntington Beach, and try to go surfing. Everybody else has done this before. I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I make it out in the water. The surfboards beat me up in the face. I'm like drowning. I lose my glasses. I don't know why I had my glasses, but I lost them. And I'm looking out at the beach, and the people are like this big on the beach, and I'm looking out to where the rest of the four of them are out still paddling out deeper to get to the real waves. And they're like this in the water way out there, and I'm looking back on the beach, and I'm like getting beat up with this surfboard, and I'm like, no effing way. Head back to the beach, you know, and I'm just surfboard down. I'll just get some sun today and hang out with these lovely ladies. And they're just like, oh, you're not going to surf, huh? That's kind of fun. I'm like, no, I tried. Not going to do it.
Once was enough, yeah.
Yeah, and so we're talking, like, oh, what's your favorite band? And I'm like, oh, totally Korn's my favorite band. I'm just, Korn, you know, I'm a Korn nut. And they're all giggling and laughing. And like, yeah, those guys are real nice guys. And I was like, wait a minute. What do you mean? Like, they're nice guys. Like, you know them? Like, oh, yeah. They live in these apartments right over here. And, like, they're really cool. Like, we party with them all the time. Like,
oh, shit.
And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean?
Like, can we do that right now?
Like, and they're like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, surely they're on tour or something. Like, no, they were here last weekend. We were just hanging out with them. And I was like, shut up. Like, no. And they're like, look, there's Monkey right there. And he's walking up the beach in a red Adidas surfer suit and a surfboard, walking down the beach, coming right towards us.
Holy smoke.
And I'm just looking at him. And they're like, go talk to him. He's a real nice guy. You'll like him. And I'm like, no. I mean, I'm already in bands and stuff, and just didn't like it was high school and stuff, so people were like,
yeah.
You know, so I get it. You know, if I would have started going on his damn day off in between tours and shit, it'd have been like, and then in the event that I get on a stage somewhere and I'm like, hey, remember me? I was the guy that was
fangirling.
Like, get him the hell out of here, you know.
I always dread that of
I wouldn't have been able to contain myself. So he walks by, and they're like, you're so dumb. And I was like, no, I couldn't do it. He comes back by. And they're like, okay, we're gonna go get him. And I'm like, no, don't you dare. That's even worse. Like, I'm like,
yeah. Hey, no. Yeah, now you're introducing.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, yeah, I'm gonna send the hot chicks over to yeah, no, like, I'm like, sure he knows you. Sure he doesn't give a shit about me. No, definitely not. And walks by. You're so dumb. For whatever reason, 10, 20 minutes later, he walks by again. No surfboard this time. He's just walking, heading down the beach. And those two chicks get up and they're like, all right, no, this is it. I'm like, sit down. He's like, I got this. And he's already good 10, 15 yards down the beach. So he's walking down the beach, and I'm
sure in a cold sweat.
Yeah,
pounding.
And I'm trying to catch up to him on the beach, and pretty soon you can probably hear me like quick and pace, trying to shuffle and getting to him, because he kind of turns back and like looks back at me like, what the hell? And I get up about this close to him, and I just look at him and go, and he goes. I turned around and walked back. That's all I needed. I was good enough for me.
He recognized you.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say a word. I wasn't going to say, excuse me, Mr. Monkey.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that'd be my problem, is I would never know what to say. It's like, I met
you play cool guitars.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I mean, you always say the worst thing in this scenario. I met Chad Gray from Mudvayne. Mm-hmm. It was when he was in Hell Yeah, but it was just like a total quick shook his hand as he was walking by, because they were doing signings and stuff, and they wanted me to buy the album in order to get in line. I was like, I already got the album. Like, yeah. And I looked at the security guy. I was like, I'm just gonna meet him anyway. And I went and walked down the side. I watched where their little security guy was like, okay, we're going to go down this way. We're going to go that way. So I kind of walked down toward there, and I see him walking by. Vinnie Paul walks by first, and I could have went up to him, but, like, I'm a singer, so it's like Chad Gray's always been one of my top favorite dudes. And so I was like, Vinny! And he just kept walking. Just, you know, I'm sure he gets that all the time. Chad Gray comes walking up. I literally just start walking right beside him. And I stuck my hand out. I was like, hey, man, I just wanted to let you know. I know I rambled and said some bullshit, but I was like, basically along the lines of, you're one of my favorite singers. I enjoy all your stuff. Just nice to meet you, you know?
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. And I walked away thinking that was an amazing moment, and I looked like a fool. Like, and he'll never remember that moment, because it was, I mean, not like he should, or
Yeah.
I'd want him to, but that was pretty cool. And then I got to meet Shinedown in, of all places, Walmart.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were doing an actual signing.
Oh, at Walmart?
Yeah, I thought that was so bizarre. It's the Walmart in the Heights. But I was like, I don't give a fuck. I'll meet Shinedown in a dumpster, dude. Like,
Yeah.
they're one of my favorite bands. So, and I had already prepared, like, it was just going to be a quick thing, because you're just walking by getting your shit
Sure.
signed. And I went up to Brent Smith, and I was just like, dude, I've been waiting 10 years for this. And I just stuck my hand out, shook his hand, and I was like, that's all I needed. So it was kind of like the same thing with Monkey for you. It was like, that's all I needed. I didn't need to, like, tell him how much his music impacted me or how much this and that. Like, no, just getting to shake somebody's hand. Like, I don't even need autographs, man. Like, I've never been an autograph guy. I mean, it's cool.
I can't keep anything, so I was like, man, what a bummer. I had a dollar bill that was autographed by Travis Barker from that Warped Tour.
Oh, yeah? That'd be pretty cool.
I thought that'd be really cool, being he's like so valuable now.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I
he's
got
really...
a signature on a dollar bill.
Well, it's like, even pictures, I'd rather have a picture than an autograph, but I'd rather just have an interaction.
Yeah.
Like, than a photo. Because it's like, I'll remember it. I don't care if anybody else knows that it's real. I know it's real. You know? So it's like, I feel like they would appreciate it more if I'm just like, not sticking a camera in their face and like, hey, can you sign this?
Yeah.
I don't know, just being like, hey man, I love your stuff. I just want to shake your hand.
Oh, it was cool. The coolest band I've ever met was Incubus.
Oh, hell yeah.
And that was during their science tour. They played at the Bozeman Fairgrounds, I think it was. But and I don't know how it worked out that way, but they're like, oh yeah, the band's going to hang out afterwards and meet people in the back. And so I was just like, really? What? So I, like, after the show was over, I walked back through this like kind of archway thing where everybody was kind of shuffling in. And they'd just gotten a new DJ with this black guy had dreadlocks, like, down to about here.
Mm-hmm.
Just rad dreadlocks. And I fucking turned around and saw him. I was like, hey, man, I don't know your name. You're the new DJ, but you got badass dreadlocks. And he's like, dude, I saw you in the crowd, man. You got badass dreadlocks. I was like, hey, thanks. And so that was about it for that. Said hey real quick to the drummer while he was autographing stuff. Talked to the guitarist about his pedals for a minute. But then the bass player, I must have hit a good nerve or something, but I just kind of asked him, I was like, hey man, you got any advice for a up and coming band wanting to hit the road, and touring advice from and he just went on a doctorate lecture, and just started talking and going and make sure you do this, and you got these people to talk to, and you don't want to handle this. That's why we have these people that go and take care of this stuff today, and and it was like, I wish I had a notebook to like start writing some of this shit down. 'Cause
Yeah.
It just was going on and on. It was some serious, in-depth stuff. And then like halfway through this, some blonde with big old massive giblies walks up, lifts her shirt up to get autographed, and he turns and goes to sign her,
He's like, you're like, while you're at it, can I use your chest for note taking?
yeah, like there's enough room here. Hold on a second.
Yeah,
Keep going. No.
Take these notes.
But no, so I turned to my bassist, Isaac, at the time, who died. And I'm just kind of like giving him the nod, like, yep, it's over. Like, boobs just got whipped out. This conversation's done, man. And then, so he signs the tits. Turns out. So anyway, he gets back to the conversation, and I was just like he's
That's
not
awesome.
done yet. All right.
That's super cool.
It was really cool. I couldn't believe that. I was not for sure. Like, as soon as the nipples come out, I was like, up.
Yeah.
What were we
focus
talking
goes
about?
elsewhere.
Sorry, little kid. I got something to do with over here.
Yeah. But that's cool because it's like, that probably meant more to him than the tits. You know what I mean? It's
Evidently.
like the fact that he got to give you advice and potentially like help you along your way.
Oh, it was so cool. I just couldn't believe it. I just asked the right question, I guess.
Yeah. No, that's super cool.
Yeah, but it was cool. But yeah.
So, would it be fair for me to make the assumption that you are also very heavily influenced by the many workings of Maynard James Keenan?
Yeah. Yeah, in not only in concept, but definitely musically. I mean, just I like the lyrics that he writes and the things that he talks about, and it's not necessarily that you can just like read the lyrics and go, oh, well, I get it.
Yeah, you have to really like.
You have to go, well, wait a minute, what is he talking about now?
in.
And find the other pieces of literature that are, attached to it, and so to speak, that he lets you find and dig, and I just love that about them. I think it gives fans more than just turning on a song and listening to it and then you're done with it in 3 minutes. I mean, it doesn't stick with you
and there's so many levels to it.
Yeah,
it's like,
and every time I listen to it, I still hear more. And it wasn't even until we were like, 20 years we've been listening to some of those songs, and we start learning them, and we're like, whoa,
you get a whole new perspective. Yeah.
That's how that works. When they do that stuff, going back and forth, and it's crazy, but
so intricate. And yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Like, I would honestly say Maynard in a whole, like, and I love A Perfect Circle and Pussifer and just all of his stuff, but obviously Tool. Yeah, Maynard's probably my number one musical influence, vocally, lyrically.
He's very, very much high up there, but it would be unfair for me if I didn't say that Mike Patton is my number one.
Okay.
I mean,
you're not
missing
that's a good one.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of his solo stuff. I haven't seen enough of him just being him to know how much of it all really is him, I guess is the best way to put it, because there's so much insanity in a lot of it that it's just, that's what I love about it. It's like the rule book was thrown out, it's like, oh, I can do anything now.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck it,
Yeah.
And I love that about him. He has so many different bands and projects. I mean, by the time I really started digging into him with Faith No More, I was just like, God, this is so bizarre how he can just switch styles and go back and forth and in and out. And then I heard Bungle, and it was just like, oh, well, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's why. I mean, listen to this stuff. The guy's a jazzoid, It's no holds barred there,
When you take influence from so many different spaces of music,
yeah,
you can tend to be pretty intricate.
And that's what I love about that. I mean, it's cool what Tool does, because they've definitely made a mold for themselves.
Mm.
I mean, and you couldn't go out and do what they do without someone going, "Hey, that sounds a lot like Tool."
Oh yeah, sure.
But there was that one song by Chevelle. I can't remember what it's called.
Well, they've even openly said they're heavily influenced.
Yeah,
by Tool.
but there was one song in particular. It took me like 2 or 3 minutes of listening to it, going,
"This isn't.
This is a pretty easy Tool song if this is Tool." But
yeah, and then,
but no, it's a rad song, and I like those guys a lot too. But I appreciate what they do, and I love 3/4. Anything that drudges around in 3/4 is my kind of style. So
right on. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I've never thought of myself as like trying to emulate anybody. It's like you just listen to what you like, and you kind of take little pieces here and there, and then it's funny how it takes a while to actually find your own voice, because you do kind of, in a way, copy your idols,
yeah,
and follow their blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
But then eventually you kind of find your own voice, and I feel like with this band more than my last few, I've kind of fallen in that. After every single show I've played, at least one person comes up to me and is like, "You kind of remind me of like Maynard-esque." I'm like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "I don't like feel like that at all." And then I've heard recordings. I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
kind of see what he's saying.
Okay,
Like,
right
and I'm
there,
not,
I get it.
I'm not trying to like compare myself to Maynard by any standard
Yeah.
because it's the highest form of like compliment you could say to me. But I'm like, okay, I see the influence, and I'm not even trying. It's
Yeah.
just there.
Yeah.
So it just bled through like without me even knowing. And I'm not going to change it because I enjoy it. But
Yeah.
I'm not trying to do that. But it's just crazy how your influences influence you.
Yeah, like, I know, subconsciously and
Mm-hmm.
and consciously, it's pretty cool. But yeah, it's funny. Like with the Crunk band that I mentioned earlier, back in the day, it even made it into a newspaper article that people jokingly referred to us as Corn Against the Machine.
Okay.
And I loved that moniker. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
I was like,
Well, it's not. It's a couple bands that wouldn't be too.
yeah, but I was just like, man, that is funny stuff. Whoever came up with that, they need to get a T-shirt or something.
Well, it's like to be compared to those bands. It's like I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah,
Like,
I thought it was hilarious. So I've obviously back then it was probably extremely apparent and evident and dripping from me out of every fucking dreadlock I had. It was obviously like Corn Against the Machine, this guy, you know. But I think I've been lucky enough to been doing this long enough now, where it is kind of my own thing. Where obviously maybe that's where it flowered from, but it's got a heavy Mike Patton, Lane Staley, Maynard, you know,
Yeah.
Tool influence over top of it. So I've been able to kind of have a me, and it's funny when you look back through Crunk and Non-Zero Sum, and there was Eve Effect was a band I was singing for here too back in the 2000s sometime. All of them and now with Once Again to Go, it's like that's Tony.
Yeah.
That's what Tony does.
Well, and that's what you want, though. You
Yeah.
want to be recognized as you.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, I think you guys are very original. I think you're. I personally, and I wish I could do a lot like heavier vocal. Like I just never been able to reach that, so I just do a lot more clean. I like that you guys do a little bit of both, and I would prefer that honestly for myself if I could do a little of both. I just am physically incapable of
Yeah.
doing it,
And-
or at least haven't learned how to do it.
And with Crunk, we had two singers for a while too, where I was able to delegate some of that, you know. And then by the time he had to move back to wherever he lived, and I had to do all these songs that were recorded by myself, it was like I kind of got used to it, and I was like, okay, I'll do both. There won't be any breather parts, you know. I almost have to sing over every single part, and I hate that.
That's
I was
rough.
it's okay. This part can be played by just the guitars. You don't have to be singing right now. Like I have to totally consciously tell myself that. But yeah, otherwise I'm like
Out of breath and getting lightheaded.
yeah. And then they're like, okay, next song. And I was like, wait.
Yeah, I gotta catch my breath. Oh, dude, that's the worst.
Yeah.
Or you're at the tail end of a song and you're like just breathing the song out. You're barely even like saying words. I've had that before.
See, and one of our songs, En Passant, we wrote that straight up in just with actual breathy breathes.
Oh, wow.
Breathe. It was like a joke. Breathe.
No, yeah, I love
we
the...
actually put it into the song because it was like, now you can breathe.
I like that. Yeah, no, I love the combination of heavy and clean vocal. But I will say, for me personally, I always enjoy having clean vocals because the lyrics for me are just so important that I want people to be able to... I want to be able to understand them.
Yeah, exactly.
And
yeah.
like your stuff cuts through real easy. I can easily understand all the lyrics and stuff, and they're very well thought out, deep,
you.
and
I try to put some time into the lyrics, but
I'll never ever look at myself as a good vocalist because I'm always just so critical of that. But I will never discount my ability to write lyrics because I've worked so hard on that, and I don't know. I guess approve of my own.
yeah,
you know,
I know what you mean. You'd buy your own book.
Yeah. Well, and
That's
it seems
kind of how
cocky,
I feel. Like, yeah, no,
but it's like it's through years of just shitty songs and like
Wow.
doing the hard ones, and then finally it's like, you know what? I think I'm actually good at this. So it's like I've never taken any professional vocal lessons or anything like that, and I don't even consider myself to be, you know, I'm passable.
No.
But lyrically, that's always been the spot I've always looked at more with bands. And it's like, if you can produce good lyrics, you're an ace in my book. I don't care if you how you sing. I don't care if it's. I just got to be able to understand it. If it's heavy, if it's soft, if it's
and that's what I did like about Rage Against the Machine. I mean, it's like that guy's not a vocalist by any sorts, you know.
Right.
But man,
a poet to his freaking core.
Holy smokes, man! I mean, he could get in a fight with Socrates if he needed to. You know? Like
yeah, and that's just it. Like, and on the opposite side, it's like if you're a really really good band and a really really good singer, but your lyrics are just bland and just the same old thing that I've heard before, it doesn't do nothing for me. Yeah. Like I can't get on board with you.
Yeah, like what Fallout Boy, what a kick-ass band.
Yeah,
what an amazing, beautiful vocalist. I mean, holy smokes.
Yeah,
stupidest words I've ever read in rock and roll.
And it sucks, man.
They repeat words like just because they don't have enough syllables to come up with. It was like, oh, we needed 2 more syllables, so just say the last word again, because that was 2 syllables.
Yep.
You're just repeating your...
It's not thought out.
It's not.
Or it's radio. You know, like, a lot of that stuff, too, it's like, well, we're just going to write to what's radio. And, like, here's one that's really, like, controversial all the time. And, like, Nickelback. Talent. But they write radio songs.
Wow. But I was listening. I can't remember what song it was, but... You know how they say you need, like, the hook of a song? Like, so that people are like, oh, I'll remember that song. And, you know, it's the song that goes, neener, 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 neener.
Yeah, yeah.
But they'll have 5 or 6 stinking hooks in one song.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
it's like, what is this? This is the part that all the girls sing along to. No, it's the next part all the girls sing along to. And it's just like...
I mean, they're really good at that.
They're really good at it. I mean, it's sickening.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like...
How could you do that?
And I don't tend to hate on them as much as most people do.
I don't necessarily hate them. But
there's certain songs I hate and certain songs I can listen to. But it's like, they've got a formula that works. When half your album is a single, you know what I mean? Like, you got 10 songs on an album and 8 of them are singles.
And they're all platinum ones.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous.
It seems like you're doing something
But
right.
I mean, the dude is like Stephen King or something. He's just constantly humping out material so much that he's got to release stuff like Richard Bachman and call it, what were they called? Theory of a Dead Man?
Oh.
That first album were all his songs,
really?
Too. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, when I first heard it, I was like, this is a really strange Nickelback album. Like,
I knew they were
guy?
Similar.
I think.
Well, and I know they're both from Canada.
I think they're signed under his. But that first album was all songs written by him, and it was like he couldn't dare come out with another Nickelback album. People would have crucified him.
Right.
It was like, don't do it now, man. Just like hold back on it. And like, oh, I can't. This is good songs.
That's funny.
So it's like Richard Bachman and Stephen King. Like people wouldn't have bought another Stephen King book, but they're like, oh, who's this Richard Bachman guy? This is gonna be great.
Yeah, that's smart. Just go under a pen name, a different pen name.
That's basically what he did. Got a pen band.
Yeah. Well, I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, it's really funny, but
everybody's got their thing, you know. It's like I said, it all for me. It comes down to lyrics. If you got meaningful lyrics and they're like
that's huge,
catchy, but also have meaning behind them and aren't just like easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's really hard to find.
And you can't. The other thing, you also can't take yourself too seriously either.
Yes.
I mean, we've got 2 or 3 songs that are just straight goofball songs. I mean, they're ridiculous.
Yeah, if you try too hard, sometimes it comes across.
But they're some of my favorite lyrics still, even just
really?
because they're just hilarious, but absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, what's that one that you guys do where you're? What do you say at the end? You're like, "Shut up," or
oh yeah,
or,
that one.
you.
That one's kind of funny. It's kind of my take on the arrogance of Hollywood.
Okay,
like Chris, whatever his face is, Captain America.
Oh yeah.
High school dropout and American heartthrob overnight, basically. And but yeah, I don't know. The guy talks too much, basically. He just gets up on soapboxes and he just there's the one line, back of the line until it comes from you. You know, it's just like, I don't want to hear about it. I mean, you've obviously got people doing
all
this
of them
to you. Like you get the same memos every morning, and then like, what's it, a Tuesday? Turn on the TV and The Rock is saying it. Oh, Madonna's saying it in London. So and so saying it over here.
It's like half of them don't even believe in what they're saying.
They can't.
It's just like it's
but
what's gonna
paid for it.
Yep. It's what's gonna keep them jobs. It's what's
brought to you by Carl's Jr.
Yep. Exactly.
Ever seen that movie, The Idiocracy?
Oh yeah.
Everything was brought to you by Carl's Jr. Don't you know you get paid every time you say that?
Well, that's how it is, man. It's like, and you see so many of these celebrities and stuff. They just step on the wrong term or say something like slightly out of line, they're crucified, and then they gotta make an apology circuit, and God forbid any of them say anything remotely controversial and make a stand.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I wrote Dead 30 about. It's just people taking themselves too seriously, and in a sense, me too, as well, as making this my "Don't Take Yourself Too Seriously" song. You know? So it kind of comes full circle around in a ways. So.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. I'll have to. I haven't gotten any of your albums yet. I'll have to get one of them.
I should have brought one.
Oh, it's all good. I'll grab one at a show one of these times.
Right on.
When is that next show?
The 19th of March, and that's going to be 321 Ugly is headlining, then Dashboard Carl from Bozeman, then us 1 Second to Go, and then our really good buddies from town here also Spiked Mine. They're pretty awesome younger band, and really trying to help that younger crowd kind of stay motivated, because it'll die soon if they don't take over.
Yeah, exactly. Right on. And then and that's where?
Going to be Veronica Zane, 2905 Montana, right next to Bohemian Music.
That's where you guys played that same night?
Yeah, where I had to go down. And that's actually the guy who runs the place, Randy Prop. That's the band I was playing in that night. It's his place.
Oh, sweet.
So he's really cool to let us have an evening of rock and roll there. So
cool. Right on. And then also, before I forget to, promote all your stuff. Like, because where can people find all your music? Where can people find anything?
Yeah, we're on digitally with all the platforms, with like Spotify and iTunes and whatever streaming service you like to go through. I think they said it's like 150 different streaming services. So, I mean, obviously worldwide, ones I've never even heard of. I tried checking them out just to see how they work. Like, oh, I've never heard of that one.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, so yeah, anything, you can buy it on iTunes. You can buy it record physical copies at Ernie November's and Cameron Records. Obviously at any of our shows coming up. Yeah, but definitely been doing a big major Spotify campaign since like Thanksgiving. That's been
It's been popping off too, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was when they did that Spotify for rap for artists things. Did you probably got one of those if you're
Maybe.
on there? Oh yeah, it's kind of funny, and everybody was posting their things because they're impressive. You're like, oh, I'm in 142 countries. We had 73,000 downloads and all this stuff. 14 million hours of play time. All this kind of stuff. And I was just like, wow, that's incredible. Let me look at ours. One country in like Billings, Montana, and it was like,
yeah.
I think you had 42 people listen to you last year. I was like, oh my God. Like, well, all right. So yeah, it became my focus.
Trying to figure out the game.
Yeah. I mean,
it's all online now.
It's and people are getting billions of downloads and stuff. I mean, what was it? Some rapper guy had like 8 billion downloads.
Damn.
That's like guaranteed everyone on planet Earth at least listened to one of his songs.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't make any sense, but. So yeah, definitely. And if you get a chance, Spotify, please. It would really help me out.
Well, I'll put a link in the description of the episode too, so people can just click on that.
Yeah.
Right on. And then I was gonna ask you too. Who do you guys record through?
Well, the first album we recorded with a buddy of ours, Eric Olson, who's a kind of a jazz pianist, local guy around here, phenom, brilliant musician. Just wanted to see if he could. And come over and play with his computer, and it worked out really good. It turned out great. We didn't really do anything as far as after production for it. We were kind of just hoping to use it for a demo and see if we could get any interest out of it. And, of course, COVID started, and it was just like, ugh. So I'm glad we didn't invest our grandchildren on it or anything, So it was that we lucked out, dodged a bullet with that. But the second one we recorded with Nate from Enrapture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and boy, he's been doing several projects, and all the things that he's with 321 Ugly also.
Mm-hmm.
So he's recorded all their records and been doing really good, and that turned out great. I mean, we were so happy with it. We're like, this is just so awesome. And then we'd gotten a hold of a buddy of ours that had done one of Endeavor's records, and he was got world famous studios in Denver, and gave us a screaming deal. I mean,
yeah,
probably never get that deal again, but he just wanted to help us out and got us radio edit versions
That's
just
awesome.
in case we wanted to get it on the radio, and everyone was like, which radio station's gonna play it, huh? Like, we do it anyway. It's on every radio station in Montana now.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's like Billings, Bozeman, Missoula, and Great Falls, and
that's badass, man.
It worked out, but definitely worth what we paid for. I mean, it was worth it.
Cool. Yeah, because
Pete, you're the man.
yeah, we're looking to try and that's the next thing that we want to do is record. So we've been looking around.
Yeah, well, that was funny how they found him to begin with. They liked going out of town. They went to like Missouri and recorded one because they get more focused. They don't have their earthly duties that tie them down and distract them. Go somewhere for 4 or 5 days and record.
Yeah.
So that's what they liked doing. They were going to go to Denver this time, and just went down the yellow pages, recording studios, and left message. He was the first dude that actually answered the phone. Like, hello? And they're like, oh, hello. Who are you? Like, and dude is awesome. He's recorded Scott Stapp.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he's got platinum records on the walls, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, see, that's one thing I've never done is I've never had like a professional recording of myself.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely my first run. I mean, we recorded it with Nate and let him mix and master it, but next one we plan on actually going to Denver and doing that with him, and that'll be like actually my first full run at it. But just having an actual guy that knows the knobs and stuff and the effects. I mean, it's funny, like people have plugins and things for their like digital things. He's got the unit. Like it's called a plugin. You're like, yeah, I do plug into it. Like,
yeah.
This isn't like a plug-in. This is the real thing that. Oh, you heard this unit on Tool Undertow when I was working on that, and yeah, I mean that guy's like.
That's always nice when you got somebody that's like high end that can.
Yeah, it's like, oh God, man, I can't believe it.
That's so cool. Yeah, I can't wait. That's definitely our next step is to do that, and then we're hopefully going to be playing a couple out of town shows, just trying to get more out there.
Yeah, I can get you in contact with those Bozeman guys too. They're great.
That'd be awesome.
They're great.
Yeah, I think we're going to do Helena. We want to do Bozeman and Missoula.
Yeah,
this summer.
I haven't gotten to Missoula in a long time since Crunk in the '90s. So
really, yeah. Well, hey, if you guys want to go on the road,
yeah, we're this summer. We're definitely wanting to.
That'd be kind of cool.
I got a sister in Great Falls, and there's a couple of guys out there that do some promoting and stuff. So we got some contacts, but haven't set up anything that looks feasible. I mean, it's best case scenario would be a week and 4 or 5 gigs, something like that.
Yeah. I think we're just gonna do like a weekend and do one on one weekend, one on another weekend. Like we're not looking to do like a full tour type thing.
Yeah.
Just because it's hard when you got 5 guys and they all have jobs and
it's
lives.
Impossible. Kids and
exactly
dogs and
all kinds of responsibilities.
Yeah.
If only music paid the bills.
Yeah.
That'd be the dream. That's the dream eventually.
Yeah, right. I know. It just seems so silly. You just look at some of these bands that with money they say they make, and it's like, wow. Like Avatar, like listed their yearly earnings for like 76,000 or something like that for just a year or two ago, and I was like,
geez. That's not much at all.
Yeah, it was like, is that a profit? Like after probably, I hope.
Yeah, right. God damn.
Yeah, but man, what in the hell do you got to do, man?
It's like, well, you got to be a pop star. You got to be
Jeez.
like that. Seems to be the thing. Is like just that's where all the money is in pop and rap and
get some ass plants and Cardi B it up, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. But I guess I prefer the type of music we play. There's something a little bit
More dignified.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not like I don't like certain things in those genres either, but
Yeah, but not much redeeming with WAP.
no. I don't think that's going to stick around for the next 20, 30 years.
I don't know, Two Live Crew did, so why not?
Yeah, right. Well, we still got a little bit of time here.
Sweet.
Music aside, I know we talked a lot about music. For yourself, what other interests do you have in life, or what other hobbies? What other, like...
Well, I mean, I've been pretty much a full-time dad for good 10, 15 years now, and that pretty much is my day.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of nice when jam comes up and I can get away for 3 hours and practice 2-3 nights a week, depending on what bands and shows are coming up. And I don't necessarily have to practice too much with the cover bands anymore, but
Yeah.
it's all up here. But
Yeah, that's the one thing that's pretty nice about covers is, like,
yeah,
you can listen to them and study that way.
yeah, exactly.
How many? So you said you have a lot of kids. How many kids are you talking about?
My girlfriend, she's got 2 older girls, and then we've got 2 together. And
Okay.
then I had 3 aside before I met her.
Yeah, that's a lot of kids.
So yeah.
But, I mean, everybody has their own flock.
Yeah. So yeah, we're definitely a Brady bunch. And then we've got a brother and sister dog and a brother and sister cat. So we got 2 cats, 2 dogs, and it's funny, they're all friends too.
Yeah.
You know, we got them all when they were young, so they all hang out and fight and play and lay and try to eat each other's food. And it's like, no, you eat the cat food over here and the dog food over here.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I got, as you can see, none of that. So you got the full house, I got the single house.
Yeah.
But maybe one day. I mean,
Yeah, when it happens fast.
yeah, that's what I hear. I mean, it's definitely something I've been more open to as I've gotten older.
Yeah.
I mean, I know some people, that's just kind of, I mean, everybody has a different approach to it. And
Yeah.
it's like,
And it was nice. My girlfriend, she did daycare, and
Oh, sweet.
so yeah, and her mom does daycare, and they each had their own place, and so that was really not necessarily convenient because it was really hard working and studying and doing all this stuff to be in a daycare, but it was nice to be able to stay home with children, you know, and not have to send your kids to somebody else's daycare.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
you had your own kids at your own daycare, and we even homeschooled kids for a while.
Oh, wow.
Before COVID hit, leading all the way through the COVID close down and everything, it was.
well, that kind of helped then.
Yeah, I mean, we were 8 months ahead of everybody with the Zoom learning and all that kind of stuff, and it was funny. My 2 teens, they were just like, "What's everybody crying about? I mean, this isn't hard." And we're like, well, remember when we started?
It's like you've already done this.
Yeah, and we were the only ones, so we were able to like have like focused attention to like get through it. The whole world's doing this, and they don't have time for anybody's problems right now. So we lucked out really big time for that. It would have been a lot harder otherwise, but with all the kids and dogs and everything, you know, and keeping everything sane. But
Yeah, right. Yeah, I was gonna ask you too, because I've been kind of following you a little bit more on Facebook and stuff. You're kind of invested in the Ukraine thing a little bit, yeah?
yeah, I went to school for political science.
Okay.
And so that was been a big focal point of, you know, geopolitical issues and things, and kind of seeing, you know, not just necessarily today's window, but why did it happen 20 years ago leading to today. And so, and then with the onset of this whole entire Spotify kickoff thing, I mean, I've got quite a few friends in, you know, Helsinki, which is basically a Bozeman boat ride away from Moscow.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it literally is like that close if you look at a map, and it's like, good Lord, man, this is right over there. And I got friends in Ukraine that are, you know, running for their lives, and it's been an international thing since, like I said, Thanksgiving. I talk to these people every day and listen to their songs. They listen to my songs, and what do you think? And oh, that'd be really cool, man, if you could ever get to Helsinki. I'd love to get to Helsinki. I'll look you up as soon as I do.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, but now it's like there's a lot of pause and a lot of scare and frustration. And I know Avatar was just kicking off a whole Norwegian tour over there, and I can't imagine those guys feel safe traveling anywhere right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, just right when the world was about to start getting good with music again, it seems
had to
like,
go to shit
yeah,
some more.
and it's like, shh. Yeah, I already did this with my first one. I don't have time for the bull crap of everybody's problems. I mean, I get it. Putin wants his Russia back, but come on, man.
Well, it certainly starts like I've never really been very political and stuff like that. It's not my wheelhouse. But like, of course, with things like this, it's hard to escape.
Yeah.
From what I've understood, it's starting to look like they might be plotting a coup against him.
That's typical. If you've looked at anything that's gone on like this with Saddam Hussein, Gaddafi, I mean, even going back to the French Revolution, we sent Benjamin Franklin over there and kicked that off.
Oh.
I mean, that's that's been one of the reasons the world kind of doesn't really trust us and like us a whole lot, because we're meddlers.
Yeah.
But to an extent, I mean, we're destroying, dictatorships and communism and crazy religious regimes that, want to decapitate their people in the streets. And, that's not okay in a civilized world today. I know people that live over there. They're good people. Yeah. They like rock and roll, too. They like feeding their kids. They like running water in their houses and watch whatever shows on the TV. They're good people, man. Even in Russia, they're great people.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
it's just a couple assholes here and there. And I don't have time for that, man. This world is... It's a ticking time bomb.
Yeah,
really. I mean,
for sure.
You can see the violence. I mean, people are like amazed with the violence even in Billings. But I mean, stepping back and looking at it globally, this is happening everywhere. I mean, gun violence and death is going up in Europe, and it's never been there before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people didn't have guns for a lot of the time, but it's still it's a crazy situation around the world, and it is isolation due to COVID or whatever you want to call it. But it's something I would like to write more about, but it's tough taking certain stances that appear to be on fence lines, I guess is the way to put it.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I mean, I've definitely towed the line just on this podcast a few times.
Yeah, I mean,
without trying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like go down in a Joe Rogan blaze of glory or anything, but I mean, I'm not. Yeah, it's
the last thing you want is to do or say something that's going to prevent not just you but
my message, my point.
Yeah.
The things that I've worked for. I mean, I'm a good guy. I'm not trying to be malicious and hateful towards anybody's anything. But I mean, if it starts becoming an infringement to me or mine, then yeah, I'm gonna call it out at the very least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mention it. Hey, knock it off, jerk.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like everybody's kind of afraid to do that now. It's like we need to start not being afraid of that.
Yeah,
anymore.
And it's unfair because I mean that was what this country was founded on. I mean, being able to talk.
Yeah.
And I mean, back in the day, in the dusty taverns in the Revolutionary War era, I mean, if people didn't go in there and talk about subversive issues, then we wouldn't be a country today.
Yeah.
I mean, we just wouldn't. If everybody was like shamed into questioning the beliefs of others and, oh, this is the status quo, you can't say anything against it, we would be really worried about the Queen's health right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, it's what that Jordan Peterson quote where he's like, in order to think, you have to be able to be offended. So you have to be able to have the tough talks. You have to be able to you have to, in order to have rational thought and rational opinion, yeah, you might hear or say or things that you don't like, you know?
I think it was Robin Williams said something to the effect of, there's no greater lesson in life than failure or hunger. Something to that effect, like you learn the most in those moments.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what can I do to prevent this? That's like the most earth-shattering thing. I mean, just to be told you're wonderful and perfect and everyone loves you. And it's also kind of what Dead 30 is about. You know, got a lines in there. You're perfect, but only they forget your flaws. You know, it's you can't live life like that. There's no way you can just have a silver spoon shoved up your ass. Pretty soon it's the Bolshevik Revolution and you're Tsar Nicholas and your whole family's getting shot in a basement.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not how it really works in reality. It's way closer to your whole family gets shot in a basement than you can be paraded around with a silver spoon on your ass forever. It's way closer to that reality.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you see this kind of playing out then?
Russia taking back a vast majority of the USSR.
Yeah.
There is nobody that'll stop them. And then I see China taking Taiwan. And I see Iran making very big moves in their region. And I can imagine Israel's terrified as shit. And I don't really see... I mean, this is the classic World War. I mean, this is what was going on with Japan and China and Germany and Europe and then Japan and us. And it was... That's what made the whole thing happen that way.
Yeah.
And it's...
happening again.
And I would go as far as to say intentionally.
Ah.
That's what I'm afraid of. Because, I mean, it's like we've got the world's greatest leaders and all of these smart people sitting in the same room, and let's put that room on a train track with the slowest train on planet Earth coming right for them. And all of them are just sitting there looking at it, going, I haven't a clue.
Yeah.
I got nothing. Nothing. Nothing, huh? You're all just sitting watching this train coming.
Yeah, it seems a little bit suspicious.
It's way too weird.
Yeah.
The whole world wants it. I mean, to where the Olympics were allowed to participate and go on, and just wait a minute, hold off on this war deal. We got like 4 days of Olympics left, and then you can carry on with your war. I mean,
jeez. Yeah, it's like, okay, so in the event that you believe it were to be intentional, why?
Redistribution of wealth. And for too long, America's been kind of a wild card in the one world government. The EU's been really strong. Not necessarily with this whole Brexit deal. That kind of put a thorn in their side too, because England all of a sudden kind of became little America and elected their Boris, and that kind of screwed up their whole plans with that.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it is and it's why Gaddafi was killed, because he was trying to create a centralized bank in Africa, and that would have destabilized this goal. He tried getting a bunch of African nations to make a one currency bank that would have been hopefully garnered as valuable as the pound or the dollar, you know, where world currencies are based upon it, and its trading accuracy and all that kind of thing. That's an important thing for a country. So that's why they're trying to get it down to one gold brick bar. This is our money. We control the money. America's wealth is too unstable,
which it is.
Yeah. And and Africa's would have been a huge mess, but he was trying, you know. But that's what he got ultimately taken down for. And that was our politics going in and removing him. Not saying he needed to stay. He was not a kind individual whatsoever.
But still, motives were not because of that.
He's been a bad guy for 40 years, and now all of a sudden, what's the problem?
Yep.
So,
well,
Saddam, same thing. Printing American money. Oh, we got a problem with that guy all of a sudden.
Well, it kind of reinforces everything I've kind of said the last couple episodes. Is it all comes down to money? Like money
you can follow the money. That's very literally what it comes down to. Follow the money. I mean, it's where did the money go? Who's getting all this money?
Well, it's like media, Hollywood, politics, corporations. They're all pretty much the same.
They all run and funnel through the same chain of command.
Yep, and it's all powered by money.
Yeah, and you can look at the conglomerates with ABC, Disney, China might as well have a flag in that thing too, because I mean they own basically all of that. Nike, they're all conglomerate things that all you can't say this and that because all of a sudden hell rains down on NBA and everything else if you do anything. It's just crap.
And then you got the rest of us that are just.
We're supposed to participate in this.
Yeah, we're just like, the consumers.
Yeah, I'm sitting here from our armchair going, next channel. It's on this one too? Oh. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Me neither. I'm right there with you. God.
And I would write a lot more about it if it didn't come across as a certain kind of guy, and I don't really consider myself, I don't feel like I look like a certain kind of guy, but yeah, I certainly sound like a certain kind of guy sometimes.
Well, that's kind of how it's become because, and without, I know what you're talking about, like because I feel the same way. So I literally just identify myself as an independent.
Yeah, even more a libertarian because libertarians want freedoms, and they don't want to be told what their freedoms consist of. Freedom's free.
Yeah,
that doesn't fit in a box or a rule book. That means you stay over there, and as long as I'm not burning your crap down, I'm free. Leave me alone. And so and I've got some really good libertarian buddies that lean either side. But they're still... Yeah,
there's things I take out of every... it's like there's some things that I like on this side, there's some things I like on this side, and vice versa.
Yeah.
But it's like that's kind of why I promote independent as a thought, because it's like then you're not subjected to this tribal idea of like you have to be everything on this side or you have to be everything on this side and against all of that. If you like...
The only thing I didn't like about a lot of the independent movements nationwide... if you ever look at their voting records, they're not independent at all.
Oh, well, for sure. As far as like independency as a party itself, yeah, sure.
It's funny. It's like you could be independent as long as you don't think like them.
Yeah, yeah. See, I just look at it like as a mindset more than a political party. Like,
yeah, but there actually is an independent party that
right.
certainly is very unindependent of any sort of
thinking. If you're a political party, theoretically, there's parties that are like what they are in theory, and then they are what they really are. And it's like, because even the Libertarian Party probably doesn't stand for what they actually stand for. Because again, if you're a real party, it's money. Like that's what you stand for is money. Any politician that says they care about you or that they have this agenda for you, no. The agenda is how much money can I make, and whatever. But there's the theories of each and what each political party stands for, but they don't stand for it anymore. Yeah.
There's some amazing old books out there that have been written, and this is 70, 80 years in the making. They've been working at this a long time, and it's baby steps. They just barely creep up a little bit with something, and that was too much. We take a couple steps back, but guess what? Just a few years ago, don't you remember those really brave people that, man, they had these views that were so far in the future. If we could just creep back up to where they were, we would just be a more advanced civilization and more thinking like those brave, futuristic thinking people just a few years back. Oh, yeah, the kids in high school. Yeah, those people were smart. So they creep up a little bit more, and it's generation after generation after generation. The kids going to high school right now weren't even alive at 9/11.
Yeah.
They just don't have a clue.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. It's not their fault. They weren't taught it.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing, too, is like there's so much of the school system now that's kind of indoctrinating kids and the youth into thinking certain ways. And that's a huge problem, too. Yeah, it's a cult. It's like cultism.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that based us to taking the kids out of school, because it was just the things that they would allow and the things that they didn't allow. It was just like, my kid can't say this at school, but you'll allow this happen to them at school.
Yeah.
free love, but, it's like unbelievable. But
And we're paying for it.
yeah, exactly. And that's what angered me the most. I mean, it's just like, I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to blame you there. Like, my brother dropped out of high school, and I was so pissed at him. This was several years ago. Now I look back, I'm like, that wasn't necessarily like a crazy move. Like, he got his GED and all that.
Yeah, I did too. And then I went to college, and so I mean, I was done with high school. But by the time I dropped out of high school, Columbine hadn't even happened yet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I was lucky for that, because I mean, I probably would have had real problems.
That really changed a lot.
Yeah, that probably would have been real weird, because I was that kid. I was the one that was getting beat up by all the jocks, and I was the one making threats. And
Oh, shit.
yeah, I was like, I'm tired of getting beat up, and they're like, just go home, nerd. And yeah, they'd have taken it a lot more seriously post-Combine.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
So I was glad I was out of the system by that point, but
fair enough.
yeah, but
well, shall we wrap this thing up?
yeah, that'd be fun.
One more time, promote your stuff, and I'll leave the link in the description. But
Cool,
for everybody
yeah.
else,
Definitely check out Spotify. 1 second to go. YouTube. Those got a couple videos for the songs. Be working on a video for Dead 30 here real soon, so that'll be coming out. Yeah, definitely. If any platform that you download or listen to music, iTunes, Pandora, Music Match, anything like that. Yeah, go ahead and check us out.
oh yeah, and then also before we end the show, I always like to get a positive or motivational message from the guest to the audience. Anything come to mind?
Yeah, definitely. When it comes down to being in a time of war, just remember that everybody comes from similar situations, though they are very different. You'd be surprised how very similar they could be, and it only takes a conversation to realize that there are good people on the other side of the world that don't deserve a lot of things happening.
I like it. Right on. Well, yeah, make sure to check out 1 second to go. Thank you all for watching, of course, especially if you made it to the end. Like, share, subscribe, do all that. And most importantly, don't forget, life's a garden. Dig it.